Today is the day where we find out if America has been telling the truth. Does our Hellcat actually create over 700 horsepower? Before we find that out, we've brought it here to Unity Automotive, one of the only places in the UK that you can get a Hellcat officially serviced. Believe it or not, we've covered over 10,000 miles in our Hellcat long-termer since we got it. So we've brought it here to give it a light mechanical refresh just before its examination on the dyno. Charlie, you're going to be our man today. Is there anything special about servicing a Hellcat, or is it all quite simple mechanicals?
The mechanical side is pretty simple because underneath, this is just a Chrysler 300C.
Sure.
So it's pretty simple mechanically. It's when you start getting into the engine and the gearbox is when stuff starts getting difficult.
Right, okay, so what will be the procedure today? What are you going to be doing?
So today I'm going to carry out a visual health check, which is just checking all the engine levels, coolant levels, and then I'll go underneath, check the brakes, check the tyre wear, and then drain the oil, do the oil service, and then that'll be it.
That's more than I expected, but thank you, the car should be absolutely bob on.
No worries.
This is the first time I've seen under the Dodge since we got it, and immediately I've spotted this. I've never seen something like this before. So you can see AEC Dodge Hellcat. So these resonators have been fitted by the import company that brings them over to Germany and where we got this car from. And it completely explains that massive step up in engine sound and performance once you get past 4,000 RPM. So essentially, before 4,000, all the exhaust gas comes in and goes through here and then goes through those back silencers. But once you get over 4,000, you can actually see the enormous valves in here that open up, and basically all the exhaust gases just come straight out through here and the sound absolutely explodes. So my question is this something for European homologation, or is it just for sound? Is it for performance? Because apparently the other Hellcats that have come in here, mostly Challengers, they've never had these before. So an interesting spot. Now, when I first heard we were going to get this car, I did my research and I found out that essentially underneath it's 300C/Merc E-Class from like the early 2000s.
Yeah.
What can you point to underneath here that is 2004 Merc?
Still underneath here, you've got the rear crossmember here, the rear subframe, that is E-Class Mercedes.
Yeah.
And then you've got the front crossmember, which is E-Class Mercedes. The boot floor and a lot of the chassis is just all Mercedes.
Okay, so it's not too it's not like every single part originates from back then.
No,
There's still some substantial bits.
Yeah, so all the geometries and everything from the original chassis is still there. So it's all the same really.
Cool.
But obviously upgraded and enhanced for power.
Yeah, I find it sort of startling, but also quite cool at the same time.
It is a lot to get your head around how a car that old can now have a big lump of an engine in it like this and hold that much horsepower, but
keeps them cheap though, right?
Exactly.
While there's fresh oil going back into the Dodge, I need to chat to you guys about the sponsor that's helped make today's video possible. They've been incredibly supportive of the channel recently. It's our friends at CarVertical. CarVertical can provide a thorough report on a car's history, collating information from all over the world and making it nice and simple so that you can see if you are buying a dud. Straight from the get-go, the report can tell you whether a car's ever been in an accident, if it's been stolen, if it has outstanding finance, or if it doesn't look like there's something quite right about the car's mileage. Since Richard bought back his Jag XJR, I've been looking around the different variants of roughly the same car. And let's say I come across this one here. By entering the reg, the report pops up and immediately I can see I have 3 green ticks in the theft, finance and mileage sections of the report, so they are all good. But there's a scary little amber warning in the accident section. Scrolling down the report, you can see all the car's healthy MOTs, its registration changes, the ownership changes. There's the mileage graph, which looks nice and consistent, so that's all good. But then comes the damage. This doesn't look good at all. It says in April 2019, the car was a Category S write-off, which means it can be repaired, but the car has suffered structural damage. And the photos section shows all. There is your structural damage. This hulking grey XJR has had a sizable front end hit, which I imagine has crunched the chassis rail down that left-hand side. The bonnet is a goner, as is the front grille. Let's just hope that supercharged V8 has stayed safe in the engine bay. It is far too easy to buy a car like this one that someone has simply bashed back together to look half decent. So if you are buying secondhand, I thoroughly recommend using CarVertical to make sure things are all safe and good. And to help you guys out, we've put an exclusive link in the description below where you can get 10% off when using CarVertical. You can also use it on the car that you currently own to check the history of it and make sure your car is straight and true. I'm just about to head north from here to pick up a new DriveTribe channel car, and I will be using CarVertical to make sure everything is as it should be. Better safe than sorry. So, I've now got a nice clean dash, no more warning lights. Feels strong. Let's see what it's got. To test the Hellcat's power, we've brought it to our favourite dyno wielding friends at Dream Automotive in Luton, with Imran from Evolve on the keyboard to see what the V8 is putting out. Imran, welcome back to the channel.
Hi Mike.
What do you think of our new colour on the Charger here?
It reminds me of a Smurf. Is that the look you were going for?
Is that a good thing?
It stands out and
Smurfs
it attracts
are cool,
attention.
right?
Yes, Smurfs were cool when I was younger. I mean, it's an interesting colour. If the car was black before and you wanted to do something different, it has to be different, right? You can't do something boring, so I understand why you've done it. It actually reminds me of BMW Yas Marina Blue, which is a cool colour.
Right, well, you're going to be our dyno operator today.
Yep.
The number we need, hopefully, is 717 horsepower. Mm-hmm. So they came, originally with 707, but the car magazines are saying that's up by 10 now. So 717 at the crank is what we're looking for. Yep. What would you expect? I know you've not had one of these
I've
before,
not had one of these on, but in my vast experience of dynoing cars on this dyno, especially older American stuff like Mustangs and Vipers, they were generally slightly lower on this dyno than the Americans were quoting, so it'd be interesting to see.
So we could be high 600s, maybe.
Possibly, yeah. If I had to guess.
Okay, well, let's see what it's got.
Let's go.
It's obviously making a lot more power than they think.
After that first insane run, the Hellcat went on to produce multiple 750 horsepower pulls, cementing the fact that we seem to have a very special Hellcat in our midst. That's saying 751 horsepower. Have we ended up getting a higher spec? Have we ended up getting a red eye instead of just a normal Hellcat white body? I'm pretty sure the red eye is 797, so we're kind of in between the two. Is it those resonators I need? What on earth is going on with this car? So Imran, I gather that was a success.
Yes.
What are we looking at here?
So the car's made 751 horsepower
That's
at the
crazy.
crank and just over 700 foot-pound of torque, which I believe is a little bit over the factory quoted figures that you
Yeah,
were
so
after.
that's roughly 34 horsepower more, and that's about 50 foot-pounds more. I think it's
Yeah.
supposed to be 650. That's mental.
But that graph there, the power curve is immense. It's just like a 45-degree line going all the way up, which is quite typical of a big engine car with a supercharger.
It's almost like an NA engine.
Yeah, and you
just
can see
keeps
the torque building up there, and it's fairly flat. But I mean, it's got over 650 foot-pound of torque for the majority of the rev range, which is, when you talk about area under the curve, that's insane.
I mean, driving it, I'm surprised by those numbers, but driving it, like, it is effing quick. So
Yeah.
I guess those are just the numbers.
Yeah, and to give that some context, on this dyno, a stage 2 tuned F10 M5 or F90 M5 makes 750 horsepower.
Okay, with
So-
modifications.
With modifications, yeah.
Damn.
And that's doing that stock.
So if an M5 comes up on me on the M1 on the way home,
Yep.
I'll have it.
Yeah, if you get grip. Depends who grips the most.
Okay, now Imran, I'm gonna leave the keys to this with you.
Yes.
And guys, if you know what Imran's famous for, what his company eVenturi do, you will know what's gonna happen to this car. But we'll leave it at that. We'll keep it somewhat secret.
Yep.
But I'm so looking forward to what you do with
Yeah,
this
so
thing.
we.
That number could go even further.
Should go further up, yeah.
Cool, we'll leave it there. Thank you, Imran.
No worries.
So, I think we can class that as quite a big success. America, you haven't been lying. In fact, you've been selling yourselves a little bit short. As I said, I'm going to leave this car with Imran, and he's going to do some very cool stuff to it, and we'll cover all of that in a future video, so stay tuned for that. A big thank you to Dream Automotive for letting us use their dyno. If you're into anything Honda, as you can see behind me, we'll put a link to their YouTube channel below. Definitely check it out. They're up to some pretty nifty stuff. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I've been Mike, and don't forget to subscribe to DriveTribe.